Hi, I'm immigration attorney Karlene Punancy, and I have 35 years of experience. In this video, I'm going to tell you how you can live in the United States legally. I'm going to tell you about the different types of visas that you can apply for, and I'm going to tell you what not to do to stay here illegally. There are many ways to live illegally in the United States, and there are many different types of visas. For example, you can have an investor visa, which is an E-2 visa. You can buy a company, which allows you to stay here in the country legally, and you may renew that visa. You have the H-1B visa, and that's a visa that will allow you to have a sponsor, a company to sponsor you. If you have a bachelor's degree, you may apply for H-1B visa with a company. You may apply for an L-1 visa, and an L-1 visa is one that allows you to be transferred from a company abroad to a company in the United States. And you can work legally on an L-1 visa. What I like about the L-1 visa is that it allows you to apply for your residence directly after the L-1 expires. And that's not like the E. The E-2 visa does not allow you to do that. The E-2 visa is simply an investor visa that allows you to live here with an investment. As long as the investment is doing well, you can renew your visa and you could stay here legally. Then you have other types of visas like the TN visa, which is like a H-1B visa, but it's only for people from Mexico and Canada. And again, you need to be a professional and you need to have a sponsor. That sponsor will help you to live in the United States legally, paying you the salary that they're required to pay you, sponsoring you, giving you the support that you need to work with the company. You also have religious visas. If you work in a religious capacity with a church or a religious organization, you can work legally with that visa in the United States. Those are temporary visas. With those visas, you need to sign an affidavit when you apply with the government that you're going to return to your home country. So those are temporary visas. Of course, there are permanent visas as well. Like, for example, you can have a company sponsor you to help you to get the permanent residence in the United States, and that becomes a permanent visa. Then there's marriage. If you get married to a U.S. citizen or a U.S. permanent resident, you can apply for your permanent residence in that way. And there's political asylum. If you've suffered persecution in your home country, and any kind of persecution, could be political persecution, could be religious persecution, could be persecution because of your nationality, your ethnicity. If that's the case, you can apply for asylum in the United States and you can become a permanent resident. So now we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. So I know that those are all technical terms that I just talked about and visas with different names and numbers, but let's just narrow it down. So are you a teacher? Then you can apply for H-1 visa because you can get a sponsor with a school or an educational institution, a university, college campus, and they can sponsor you to be a teacher. So you can apply for a H-1 visa. If you're a doctor, same thing, you can apply for H-1 visa, and then the hospital will probably sponsor you to become a permanent resident. So this is great. Are you a pastor? Are you a priest? Are you a nun? You can apply for a religious visa with an R visa, and eventually, after the visa expires, you can apply for your permanent residence. Are you a tennis player? Did you know that there is a visa for tennis players? Yes, you can apply for a P visa. And what about if you're a musician, you're a singer? You can apply for a P visa as well. And did you know that if you are a singer that's become famous in your country, for example, and everybody knows you, you don't even have to be a singer on an international level, but nationally, a lot of people know you. You can apply for an O visa, which is a person of extraordinary ability, and you can come to the United States and you can live in the United States. What about influencers who have thousands of followers on TikTok or Instagram? You too can apply for an O-1 visa. I bet you didn't know that. You can apply for an O-1 visa and live in the United States. Also, you could be a weightlifter, you could be a boxer, you can apply for a sports visa in the United States. Oftentimes, restaurants open up and they need people to work. And a lot of times they'll bring in their waiters or people who do work around the restaurant, not necessarily a chef, and they can get an H-2B visa. Then we have people who have farms and they need people to work on the farms, and they can bring in farmers or people to help with the crops. That's also a H-2B visa. So there are many different types of visas that you can get to work in the United States. Maybe you'd like to work on a cruise ship as a chef or doing something on the cruise ships. You can get a crewman's visa, you can get a C1 visa and come to the United States. Obviously, with a visa on the ship, you go back and forth from the United States, but it does allow you to be here and see what the United States is all about. So these are a lot of visas that you can get if you fall into different categories, no matter what your job is. And a lot of times people think, well, I work as a secretary, maybe I can't get a job in the United States. Yes, you can. A church, a school, a hotel can sponsor you and help you to come to the United States on a temporary visa. And that visa could be a H-1B, depending on your level, or it could be an H-2B. Maybe it's very temporary. Maybe they need you for a year. If they need you for 3 years, then they'll apply for you for the H-1B. So there are all kinds of different visas that you can use to work legally in the United States. There is never a reason for anyone to fall into the trap by saying, I need to get a false visa or photo switch visa to come to the United States. And let me explain what that is. People sometimes will use the visa of another person. That person has a visa, a tourist visa, let's say, and people will put their photos in the passport of that person, and they come to the United States pretending to be that person. A lot of times in the past, maybe they got through and the immigration officer did not realize that that was not the person with a name on the visa. But nowadays, don't try that. That's not going to work. They know everything. They're looking for people who are doing that kind of stuff. So don't come to the United States with a false visa. Don't pretend that you're someone else that you're not. And also don't try the border anymore, because people are getting apprehended at the border and they're going to jail. It's one thing to be sent back to your home country, but there's another thing to spend months and months and months or even a year in jail. And that's no fun. Family members will come to us and say, you know, my relative is in jail, could you get them out? And a lot of times we can't get them out. It becomes very difficult. Now, the other thing that I want to talk to you about is getting your permanent residence through marriage. There are people who will say, well, you know, I met somebody online and I'm going to get married to that person and I'm going to bring that person to the United States. Well, immigration is very, very, very suspicious of those kinds of relationships. So if you're going to bring someone here to the United States because you met a person online, make sure that you know that person. Make sure that you traveled to the country of your fiance, that you know the relatives, because immigration is going to be looking for pictures of you there in that country. The ticket, you know, the plane ticket. Immigration is also going to look at your social media account, to see Facebook, to see if you have been in contact with that person, Instagram, WhatsApp especially, however you speak to that person, phone calls. So make sure you think before you start talking about getting married to somebody that you met online. Some people are so desperate for their residence, they'll pay someone to marry them. And that's illegal. And don't think that immigration doesn't find these things out. There are times, more so now than before, that once the couple presents their application to the USCIS, immigration sends out private investigators to make sure that those people are living together, that the couple is living together, that there is a pattern, that the couple goes in and out together, and they talk to the neighbors to make sure that this is a valid marriage. So we have to be careful about getting involved in fraud. Do not get married for your papers, because it's wrong, it's against the law, and immigration will find out. And then you will be barred for the rest of your life from becoming a permanent resident, and you'll get deported. So let's be careful with that. And the other thing too is, if you're planning to invest in the United States, make sure that the money that you use as an investment is one that you got legally. If you are laundering money, that's not going to work, because immigration is going to find out. And another thing that people do is they'll say, well, you know, I sold a property in my country and then I got payment here. Be careful with that too. Make sure that you can show that the property was really sold. You really sold that property. And make sure that the person who bought the property is the person who has a bank account here and who's a legal person. And that person has money that's legally obtained to pay you. So there are a lot of different things that you have to be careful about. And immigration is on top of people now more than ever before, to make sure that they're following the law and doing things the right way. The other thing, do not form a fake company to get your visa. Some people will open up a company, there's no money in the company, there's no bank account, the company is not registered, but they go ahead and they apply for a visa. Remember, if you do that, immigration is going to ask you for a lot of documentation. If you don't produce the documentation, you're going to get denied. But more than that, nowadays you will get deported. So be very careful with that. Sometimes these visas will convert into permanent residence. For example, if the company sponsors you, if you're working for a company and the company sponsors you, or if you're working for a company A, but you find a company B that will sponsor you, you can become a permanent resident. Or sometimes you're here on a temporary visa and you meet a US citizen, you fall in love, you get married, and that person can help you to become a permanent resident. Once you're a permanent resident, remember that you can also become a citizen after 5 years. If you're married to a US citizen, you can become a citizen after 3 years. If you get your permanent residence through a company, you can become a citizen after 5 years. And the most important thing too to remember is that once you become a resident, you can help your family members. So if you become a permanent resident through a company, you can bring your spouse and your children. If you become a permanent resident through a marriage, you can bring your children, your minor children. And then when you become a citizen, eventually you can even help your parents. So yes, permanent resident can eventually become a citizen. Remember the advantages of citizenship. You can vote, you can live permanently in the United States. You'll never have fear that you will lose your citizenship. Sometimes you can lose your permanent residence. For example, if somebody commits a crime while being a permanent resident, they can lose their residence. But as a citizen, you always have your citizenship. It's guaranteed. You can travel, you can stay out of the country as long as you want, and in the future, maybe if you need some kind of help medically from the government, you can also get help. So there are all kinds of ways to legally live in the United States, work legally in the United States, then become a permanent resident, and then become a citizen. And that's the journey that most people would like. And that's the journey that you should try by doing everything correctly from the first time. So there's always hope. I know you're probably thinking, well, would I be able to ever apply for any of these visas? Yes, you can. You have to have the faith that you can do it. You have to have the faith that you can find a company to help you. And especially if you have a talent or if you are in a certain profession, give it a shot. Try. Speak to an attorney in the United States. Speak to an immigration attorney. There are ways that you can do this. I know you can do it. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've seen cases that people thought they never had a case. I just recently helped a pilot who had 1,200 hours of flying. The law requires 1,500. But he also had so many different talents and certificates that helped him. And we were able to show the USCIS that he can do it, that he's a very qualified pilot. And he won his case. So there are always ways that you can become a resident or you can work legally in the United States. You've got to be forceful, just like anything in life. If you want it, go after it. Pursue it. Have faith. Have the passion. Have positive energy. Manifest it, and it will be yours. Now, I know that the political climate with immigration now in 2025 is a little bit difficult. And there are countries that are being banned from applying for certain types of visas to come to the United States. But I believe that that's just temporary. I believe that once things get a little bit more in order here in the United States and they get rid of people who have come to the United States who have committed crimes or done things here that are not right or not legal, I believe that once we get a hold of that, it will open up again and these countries will be able to get their visas to come back. But for those of you who are here from those countries, remember that you can still apply, and you can still apply for different kinds of visas, and you can still apply for permanent residence if you have an opportunity to do so through a company, through marriage, through political asylum. Don't lose hope just because the political climate is a little bit difficult right now. Visas are still being issued every single day. In our office, we get approvals every single day. In fact, since January, we've gotten more approvals these past 6 months, more so than last year. And so there's always hope, and there's always a way to win the case. You have to really think about it, study it, and apply the law. And then there are people saying, well, you know, I heard that the present government is saying that all political asylum applications are going to be denied. That's not true. People, we are doing political asylum applications, and every day there are people who are winning their political asylum. So don't be hesitant, and keep on going and keep on applying. Keep on applying for the different types of visas if you qualify. Keep on applying for political asylum if you need to. If you need to flee your country or you're here already, keep on apply. If you think you need to apply, apply. Do not be afraid. Remember, as I said, have faith. Have the confidence that you can do this. You can do this. Have the positive energy. No negativism. Have the positive energy, and you can do it. I'm receiving a lot of calls in my office of people asking this question. Well, if I apply for a visa or apply for submit an application to the USCIS, I'm going to get deported immediately. No, you will not. Some people believe that this is a way of them kind of letting the government know that they're here. The thing is that if you're here illegally and you're going to not apply for anything, you're always going to have to look over your shoulders, and you're always going to have to be on the run, and you will never be able to get not even a driver's license, a social security number. So my recommendation is, if you're here illegally, do apply for something. If you can apply for asylum, go ahead and do so, because you will get a work permit, and with a work permit you'll get a social security number, and with a work permit you will get a driver's license. So instead of driving illegally, you will be able to drive legally in the United States. If you get pulled over by a cop, you can show that you're here legally. Now the problem is, if you get pulled over by a cop and you don't have a driver's license, nowadays you're going to go straight to the jail, let's say the immigration jail. You're going to be detained. You're going to be put in deportation proceedings, because that's just the way it is working now. So if you're here and you can apply for something, then, you know, for an application, talk to an immigration attorney, talk to us, we can help you. So try to do something for yourself while you're living in the United States illegally. People who have unfortunately told us that they have been victims of violence. It could be violence in the home, could be violence on the street, could be violence in the school, could be violence in the job. If you have a problem with an employer or a fellow employee, if you're at a party and somebody comes in with a gun or hits you or whatever, did you know that you can apply for a visa? Yes, you can. There is a visa called a U visa, and if you have been a victim of violence, any kind of violence, it doesn't just mean domestic violence. It could be violence anywhere, like I mentioned before, and you can apply for a U visa. The U visa allows you to stay legally. It gives you a work permit for 3 years. After 3 years, you can apply to become a permanent resident. So that's a wonderful way that you can become a resident if you've fallen into this unfortunate situation. Now, I know that a lot of people have come through the border, and a lot of people have been the victim of human trafficking. On their way to the United States, they had encounters with horrible people, criminals. They call them coyotes, they call them whatever you want, but people who have kidnapped others and trafficked them, trafficked children, trafficked women, men, whatever. If you have been in that situation and you're now here in the United States, you can apply for a visa. The visa is called a T visa. And with a T visa, you'll also get a work permit. And after the work permit, after 3 years, you can apply for your residence. So you see, there's always something there that can help you. Don't give up, and talk to an immigration attorney. Talk about your case. Talk to people about your case. Don't just keep it within yourself, because sometimes there are lots of things out there that can help you and you don't know because you're afraid. Don't be afraid. Talk about it and let us help you. So let me give you an example. I have a client who was at a party, and somebody came in there with a gun and just flippantly just firing the gun, and my client got shot. And so we did a U visa for him, and we gave the medical report on how he was damaged, he was hurt. The cops, the police was called, so there were lots of reports, and he got a police report. We got the police report, we got his medical report, and he won his permanent residence. Today he's a resident, and he's so happy. We also have situations where this one guy when he was crossing the border, he was kidnapped and put through horrible, horrific ordeal. He had to, he was stripped of his clothes, he had to walk around naked, and then he was abused. He was so abused. And then somehow somebody came along and helped him, and he was able to enter the United States. We were able to do a T visa for him, and he won. So Even in the darkest hours of someone being so stressed, feeling so alone, and feeling so shattered, we were able to help them to become a resident and to start a new life. So that's what I'm saying. Don't give up, try, and no matter where you are in your life, if you're a professional, if you are a victim of violence or a victim of whatever, there's always a way. There's always a way to pull through those horrible situations. And also, kids who are being bullied at school, we have situations where kids are just beat up for no reason. And those kids too, they qualify for a U visa because we're able to help. The school gives us a report, the police gives us a report, the doctor gives us a report, and we're able to apply for their U visa and their residence, and their parents also. Because they're minors, the parents will also become residents through that situation. I'm Karlene, I'm an immigration attorney. I have 35 years of experience. If you follow this channel, I can give you more information and I can help you to understand the immigration laws of the United States. Below, you will see in our description that we have a free gift for you. And in this free gift, it's our book that you can download, and it shows you all the ways that you can become legal in the United States. Subscribe to our channel. We look forward to helping you. I can also help you if you speak Spanish. Si usted habla español, yo puedo ayudarle, yo puedo entenderle. Nosotros podemos discutir su situación si usted quiere. Llámanos, sigue nuestro canal. So I can help you. Follow us, subscribe to our channel, and we'll help you.